Welcome to the fish tank.
Hey everybody, Fishman here. Welcome to another video. And look what finally showed up. Oh, it's been so long. This is the glass for the tanks for the second row up there. I ordered this stuff back in January. And it's been a whole series of delays, miscommunications, and other screw-ups that I probably won't ever get to know. But it's finally here. I mean, all those filters and everything else I've been designing over the last little while, these are the tanks that I've had intended on using to experiment with those. You know, put them on tanks, show you how they work, and all that stuff. Even the plant growth experiments with the soil and everything else. These are the ones that was all going to continue with. It's been so long. I mean, now finally I can put these together and we can get on with all that stuff. But the glass I ordered was for 6 tanks, and you can see here I only have 3 of them set up here. So what I'm going to do in this video is I'm going to build the first 3 tanks, and I'm going to give you some details like on what I do and why I do it and that sort of stuff. But I'm only doing 3 because next Wednesday what I want to do is I'll build the final 3. And over the time that I've been doing YouTube videos, people have asked from time to time details on tank building. Not necessarily just, you know, how to put them together, but like how do you go through the process, what you need to choose, I mean, what size glass, how do you figure out the dimensions, and all that sort of stuff. So what I want you to do, if you won't mind, is leave comments below, and if you have a question about any of the parts or processes or whatever of tank building, like these are going to be small ones, so leave them below and I'll try and incorporate those as well, and that will go into next Wednesday's video as a viewer request. So as you can tell, tank building is primarily an awful lot of glass cleaning. The funny thing is, it doesn't really need to be cleaned on all parts of it. These are the end pieces. So one on one end with a hole, one on the other end without, and the only part that actually comes in contact with the silicone here is the actual edge, the edge on, like the actual if you turned it on its side and you just looked at the fine edge there, that is the only part that is in contact with silicone, plus a little bit of the sides. So that's the only part that really needs to be clean. And then this is the bottom, and in this case it's all up inside, so the only parts of that need to be cleaned are actually the edges and a little bit of the overlap. I clean the rest of it simply because, well, it looks nicer and it is easier to move them around without actually end up, you know, taking some of the dirt that's in the parts they didn't clean and just transferring it. So it's just easier that way. But you can see what I'm doing here is I'm spending a little extra time on the edge itself, and that's the most important part. And this is going to go on for quite a while. I mean, there's an awful lot of pieces to clean, but I'm not going to put it all in here. Even sped up, it does take a little while. In reality, it was about 20 minutes to clean all the sheets, so it's not that bad. But I don't want you to, you know, fall asleep watching this, so I'm just going to do the first part of it, actually the ends and also all the bottoms, and then we'll get on to the actual tank building part. Now, the other thing I've been getting some requests for lately is I've been getting a lot of requests for showing more of the fish room, because those 3 tanks that are right in front of me here are pretty much the ones that get all the attention, especially lately. I mean, some of the older videos I did some of the older rack stuff, especially when I was putting on the the bottom level, but I haven't really shown much of that tank system lately because it's pretty much my commercial stuff. It's what I use to quarantine, and I use it for breeding, and I use it for raising fish for clients. They're not show tanks at all. It's just like I said, they're just there to get fish ready so I can take them out to clients. And lately, I've been, not neglected them. They do get all their water changes and filter cleans and all that sort of stuff. But I've been having a horrible time with duckweed. And the duckweed is just getting to the point now where it's 2-3 weeks go by and it just takes over. So I have a trip planned coming up. So I'm going to be away for about 2 weeks in the beginning of May. I'll give more details on what that's all about later on. But my wife is going to be maintaining the system for me for those 2 weeks. So I have to completely strip that out. And I'm going to show you a little clip at the end. I'll show you how bad the duckweed is. The entire top row has to be completely and totally gutted to try and get rid of every last little speck of duckweed, because it just keeps coming back, and it's driving me crazy. But more importantly, while my wife's taking care of this, she's not a fish person. She just is kind-hearted enough to actually take care of this for me. And it's much more difficult with the duckweed because it just plugs everything up, and the nozzles need to be banged out and whatnot. And it's just too complicated, or too much of a burden to put on her, and she gets really attached to things, and if she ends up killing some fish or fish dying while she's doing it, she's not going to be happy. So I definitely want to get that as minimal as possible. A lot of the fish will be put out into clients' tanks temporarily, so I'll get it down to a bare minimum, and then I'll keep it that way until I get back at the middle of May, or actually nearer the end of May. And then I'll start stocking those all up again. Alright, back to the build here. The process is actually quite straightforward, and especially when I don't have to do it for a client, because I don't need to do any of the taping to make sure the edges are all perfect. Actually, let me know if you're interested in the taping process for that. I'll include it in the next Wednesday's video. So what I've done here is I took the bottom piece, and this is an end piece, and I've done 2 edges on the bottom and the vertical edge on the end piece, and I'm just going to lightly squeeze them into place, and then take the side panel and place it as well. The only key part here is just to make sure the part that's on the left now is lined up properly. Like that's what I'm doing right there, and then just bring it up so that they meet and a nice 90 degrees. And once you have that in place like that, it will actually stay quite firmly. You don't have to worry about it too much. You obviously can easily move it, but because they're all vertical and they're all square, it won't go anywhere. It'll stay there perfectly fine while you do all the minor adjustments you need to do. Now, one thing that I can't really explain well is how much silicone to squeeze out of the joint. It's very much a visual feel kind of thing. I'll try and figure out a way of explaining it better to you. But you can't squeeze it all out. There has to be some left, obviously, because that's where all the strength for the joint comes. If you take out too much, you can end up having not enough silicone to do the binding, and if you leave way too much, it is weak as well. So I'll try and figure out a way of doing that. If that is something that's particularly important to you guys, just leave me a note below, and I'll try and get around to that. There you go. That's the first 3 pieces done. It didn't take hardly any time at all. And then what I need to do is do the others, but I am going to tape the edge. It's something I started doing long time ago. It really doesn't do anything. I mean, if you bang that, it's just going to fall apart. But like I said, it's just a process I started a long time ago, and so I just keep on doing it. So there you go. Next one's just as easy. Just put the silicone on the end, and again on the vertical, and then place it and rape off the excess. It's just, like I said, it's very, very straightforward. And then the last piece is just as easy, because now all I need to do is silicone all the exposed faces there, and then place the final piece on. And then all that's left to do after that, besides spreading out the silicone, is once the whole thing is put together, you want to go around, make sure there aren't any gaps anywhere, and also make sure that all the panels are in the right position, because the 2 sides that are face on the outside, they can be shifted back and forth a bit, and you just want to make sure it's all good and square. And that's it. That's pretty much the ease of making it. There you go. That's what I'm doing right there. I'm making sure that the sides are lined up properly. And I'm going to tape these as well. Again, not really necessary. If you're unaccustomed to building fish tanks, I would recommend doing it just for peace of mind. But other than that, like I said, it's just It's just there in case you do any sort of minor bumping or whatever. Now, while I put the second one together, I'm not going to show you the third one. Like I said, I don't want to end up boring you too much with all this. But while I do this one here, I want to talk to you about some of the things I have coming up in the future. And like I said, any part of the tank building that's in this video, just let me know details that you want. So that's the last time I'll say that. All right. These tanks, 5 of them are going to be set up with filters that I've been building, and I want to set up some experiments. I'm going to do some plant growth experiments, and I definitely want to raise a bunch of guppies and get them all going. I find it's much more how can I say this? I prefer to raise my own guppies because it's much more reliable. I actually prefer to raise all my own fish, but it's not really possible to keep up with it all the time. But if I've raised the fish, I know they're fully quarantined. I mean, I know, and they're going to go from my water into my water, so I have a lot less issues with that sort of stuff. So I want to do a lot more of that sort of thing. And like I said, all these filters that I've been building, and people have been asking to see them up and running and see how they work out. Those sorts of things need to run for a long time, and I obviously need the tank space to do it. And I can't do it on the old rack because all the water is common, so I can't really judge whether one filter is doing better than another or any of that sort of stuff, because all the chemistry is going to be common as well. So all that sort of stuff needs to be done here. So and one tank, the one that's probably going to go on the far right as we look at it here, that one's going to remain a mystery for a while. I'm going to probably put some black acrylic to hide it. And there's some stuff I want to do with that tank. There's some projects I want for it, but I want to keep it under wraps for a while. And then these sorts of things, like I said, these are the sorts of things I want to get working on. And like I said in the beginning of this video, this was so long waiting for this glass to come in and get started on all this. And you also notice one other thing I haven't mentioned yet. The hole drilled for these tanks is drilled much lower than the other ones, and I want to show you how that all is going to turn out, how that's going to work. And so finally we can get onto this. So here the 3 tanks are made, and this is pretty much the end of this video. Sorry it went a little long, and then sorry I rambled so much, but I wanted to get a bunch of stuff in here. So anyway, as always, if you like this style of video, please like and or subscribe, and next week I'll get that in place. This is the mess that I have to clean up. All the moss. I really like the moss. I like the plants growing out and all that sort of stuff. But that duckweed's got to go. It's just duckweed. Anyway, thanks again for watching. And I will see you in the next video, and bye for now.